Welcome back to Sunrise Daily. We're continuing our focus on the expectations that Nigerians have got for the incoming ministers. And yes, no portfolios yet attached to them. We're joined now by Mr. Sebastian Hon, who is a senior advocate of Nigeria, to get his thoughts on all of this. Morning, and thank you for joining us today. Well, we had this conversation, yeah, and we're continuing today about the comment that the president had made at the time, where he has suggested that, well, we just may have ministers who will be there because they had to fulfill the law. But first, let's get a clarification from you about the requirements of the law on this one. Is it that there have to be 36 ministers because we've got 36 states?
Yeah, well, the law is settled in Nigeria. The president has absolute discretion in terms of assigning portfolios to ministers. And that can be gathered from Section 5, subsection 1A, Section 130, Section 147, subsection 1, and Section 148, subsection 1 of the 1999 Constitution. If we dig into constitutional history in Nigeria and elsewhere, we hardly fought the president, especially given the general climb down in our oil revenue of recent. For instance, Section 148, subsection 1 of the 1999 Constitution, which gives the president absolute discretion on when to assign executive responsibilities to the vice president and the minister and his cabinet ministers, is a direct reproduction of Section 136 of the 1979 Constitution of Nigeria. In 1989, the then military government attempted what may be described as a legislative attempt to curtail the powers of the president by enacting Section 145, subsection 1 of that Constitution, which mandatorily required the president to assign executive responsibilities to the vice president. But under subsection 2 of that section, the president still had powers, putting that constitution under his absolute discretion to assign portfolio functions to his ministers. So as far as the presidential system being practiced in Nigeria is concerned, the president has absolute discretion to assign responsibilities to his ministers, to ministers appointed by him. And in the United States of America, where we borrow this presidential system, there's no such provision in their constitution. Therefore, the president, by convention, assigns executive responsibilities to his ministers. But one example from there, which is akin to what the president has just announced, is that the vice president, who is also left floating at the discretion of the president in terms of assignment of executive responsibilities, is informally called a minister without portfolio because he influences government policies, even though he is not a minister formally called so. So the president is not wrong giving vent to or having regard to our present economic realities, because when you assign portfolios to ministers, travel allowances and other financial exigencies will visit so much on our common tail, and I believe that is the reason why the president said he is not going to assign portfolios to all the ministers. Harsh as that may be, the president is acting within his constitutional powers.
But how does it work? I mean, maybe an extension to that question. Can the president scrap, in terms of merging ministries now or agencies, can it be scrapped with that discretion? Because if they were established by an act, there are many who just wonder how he's going to go about it.
No act establishes ministries for the president. Any incoming president, in fact, if you watch our political history, you will see that different chief executives of Nigeria have streamlined federal ministries in accordance with their own policies and what they come in with. For instance, a particular government could have 42 ministries, a particular government could have 30 ministries. Even at the state level, this is what happens. And the president is not scrapping ministries. We have seen major and demerger of ministries over time. So what the president is doing is that because of the harsh economic realities facing Nigeria, mind you, he said the other day that Nigeria is broke. He cannot pay for the 2 ministers. In fact, right from the time he was elected, he has kept saying that he will not maintain a very large cabinet. And from his body language now manifested in his words, it's difficult for him to maintain even 36 ministers. But he's doing so just in obedience to the Constitution. And since the Constitution has given him discretion to assign portfolios to the members of his cabinet, I think he is digging in on that to say that, okay, now I'm not going to assign portfolios to all of you with the attendant financial consequences that will follow, but that will assign to some. And let me also tell you that in several countries, both practicing both the Westminster system and the presidential system, this thing has been done over and over. For instance, in Canada, between the 1960s and 1978, at least 5 persons were made non-portfolio ministers, starting with former Prime Minister Jean Chrétien. And we have several examples in Australia, Bangladesh, Denmark, Israel. In fact, Israel has is sharing the highest number with the United Kingdom. So this is not the first time that the chief executive of a country is saying that I will not assign portfolios to ministers. I think the president himself must have done his research well, suspecting the backlash that will follow his pronouncement to now say, I'm not going to assign executive portfolios to ministers.
Let me comment here now, because the way you have analyzed it, you came from the constitutional provision which gives the president the powers to get at least 36 ministers. But if you look at it critically now, we're talking about a nation that is broke, that's according to the president. And if we have a country that is broke, what logical sense does it make in putting some other ministers without portfolio?
No, the logical sense is that the Constitution mandatorily requires him to do so. He cannot act in breach of the Constitution by appointing less than 36 or 37 ministers. That is, if the NCT is included in the NCT is included in the appointment exercise. Now, he cannot be seen to be acting in breach of the Constitution. He has to fulfill that constitutional provision of requiring him peremptorily to appoint 36 persons to fill in cabinet offices. But at the same time, the same Constitution gives him a very wide latitude in terms of assignment of functions to those officers. So he is doing a balancing act, at least trying to satisfy himself as the chief driver of our economy, as the chief executive of the nation, as he's been described in Section 130 of the Constitution, that say, look, I am the chief captain of this ship, and the ship is almost hitting the rocks. I have to do what I can do to salvage the ship, no matter how it pitches. So I believe the president is acting within the confines of the constitutional powers granted him, and I think with utmost wisdom, so that we don't have shipwreck in terms of the federation called Nigeria.